Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel. My name is Cleo and it has been a while since I uploaded a crime video. I usually cam, but I don't feel comfortable camming always, so I decided not to this time. If you're a follower to this channel, then you've probably seen that I've been active with uploading gaming videos. That is something I absolutely love. And nothing is a must do here. I upload when I can, when I feel like it. That is why these videos are pretty much, I upload for fun. And when it comes to crime, I'm very interested in human behavior, psychology, and things like that. These videos, I learn better when I write, and for me, uploading and talking about it, it's a dot. Okay, now you have done this, now you can go to the next case. And it's not like I'm gonna record every case. It's not gonna happen. I mean, well, I haven't been uploading crime for a while, but I've been watching a lot of crime, a lot of cases, and I guess the most popular ones that are ongoing is, well, Karen Reed's is ongoing. Then we had Lorie Vallow, Doomsday Mom trial. There's a lot of talk about Koberger, the Idaho murders. And so I've been following up on that, and I've been reading a lot of crime books that are for learning purposes. I'm going to talk probably about them some video I do, and just give tips on what books you should buy. I've been reading a lot of crime books. One was from Douglas, the absolute goat. But like I said, this is mostly for learning purposes. It's for me. Of course, I wish for a community, but that's not going to make me, even if I would get money from this, I'm not going to quit my job. I'm not going to stop having a job outside of this. So that's not my goal. I want to have people to maybe discuss with, and I don't feel like right now, I don't feel like I've come to that place where I actually can discuss crime. So yeah, guys, before I even continue even further and japping, let's just go to the case. On September 9 and September 23, 2019, Lori's daughter, Tylee Ryan, and adopted son Joshua Jackson Wallow disappeared. Tylee was last seen alive on September 8, 2019, and JJ on September 22, 2019. The children's remains were found buried in the property of Chad Daybell, Lori's lover at the time of their death, and had become her husband before the bodies were found on June 9, 2020 in Rexburg, Idaho. But these aren't the only murder committed by the Doomsday couple. On May 25, 2021, Lorie and Chad were charged with first-degree murder of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, Chad's ex-wife. The couple were tried separately. On May 12, 2023, Lorie was found guilty of the charges related to the killings of her children and Chad's ex-wife. She got life in prison without the possibility of parole in July 31. Chad also was found guilty of all the charges on May 30, 2024, but he got sentenced to death on June 1. On March 31, Lori's trial over her dead ex-husband Charles began with jury selection. Then there is a trial eventually scheduled to begin in early June of the murder attempt of Brandon, how do you even pronounce his last name? Bordrox, the husband of Lori's niece. Who is Lorie Vallow Daybell? Lorie was born on June 26, 1973, in Loma Linda, California. Lorie grew up in a Mormon family. Her family followed a movement called Sovereign Citizen. Shortly, the Sovereign Citizens movement is a group of anti-government activists that have their own belief system based on misinterpretations of common law and claim not to be subject to any government's statutes statues unless they consent to them. So those who are a part of the movement are anti-government, conspiracy theorists, vexatious, litigants, tax protesters, and financial scammers. So it's not surprising that her parents at one point were found in a conflict with the IRS. So shortly about Mormons, for those who maybe don't know, Mormons believe that Christ's church was restored through Joseph Smith. Search his name up for more info if you're interested, and is guided by living prophets and apostates. Mormons believe in the Bible and other books of scripture, such as the Book of Mormon. They believe that all people are literal spirit children of God. They believe that returning to God requires following the example of Jesus Christ and accepting his atonement through repentance and ordinances, or what is called, the words today, such as baptism. If you haven't noticed, I do have some issues pronouncing a few words, but I think you get it. So Lorie was very religious, or still is in a way, I guess. So going to church for her was very important. Let's go through Lorie's marriages. She has been married 5 times, the 5th being Chad Daybell. When Lorie was in high school, she was dating a guy named Nelson. She ran off with Nelson and got married. That relationship lasted for about 6 weeks-ish. And then we have Will with his strange name, Will Lagioga. Whatever. Got Will's son, Colby Ryan. Joseph Ryan, the father of Tylee Ryan. When Tylee was 3, the marriage ended between Lorie and Ryan. It was also during the time of Joseph's marriage that Lorie was recruited to do beauty pageant in 2004. 2005, Lorie meets 49-year-old Charles Vallow. They marry in 2006. This is Charles' second marriage and Lorie's 4th husband. According to people around Lorie, she was a really good mother. And growing up, according to her nephew Zach Cox, Lorie was the one in the family everybody loved the most. She was someone that loved spending time with her family. She was seen as a beautiful woman, mother, and devoted Christian. No one could in a million years see this coming, and it left people shocked and stunned. For me personally, if my brother would have met a woman that been married multiple times, I would question her. I always question women that can't hold a marriage and marriages after a short time. Marriage is supposed to be something serious, not a sport. There weren't any signs that her children was mistreated. They seemed actually very happy. Now, let's talk about Chad Daybell, Lorie's 5th husband. Chad was born on August 11, 1968 in Provo, Utah, to a Mormon family and grew up in the neighborhood city of Springville. Faith played a large role in his family lives. He was one of the congregation leaders in Latter-day Saints. In his freshman years in Bayou University in 1989, he meets Tammy Douglas, and they married the following summer. She worked at a local school in a computer room and was a librarian. Chad was also an author of several books. He ran a book company with his wife and had a part-time job at the side of the as a gravedigger. Chad believed and followed the Mormon ways to the letter, but after several years, his focus began to shift and his writing began to go away from Mormon teachings. He talked about his near-death experience and claimed that he had seen others on the other side of the veil and received messages from them. He claimed that he met Jesus Christ and been told to do certain things on earth. This is where Shad belief started to go towards something stranger. He started to prepare for doomsday. In 2015, Shad had received new prophecies and was told to move to Rexburg, Idaho, where he lived a good life for 4 years. Shad was a member in a forum called Prepping a People, where they prepare for end of days. There were also conventions he went to that was held all over the nation. He was a popular speaker, and Lorie was in one of his events in Arizona for Preparing a People, and they were introduced. Preparing a People didn't agree with Shad's views and said they didn't share any of Shad or Lorie's beliefs, which goes beyond Latter-day Saints' teachings. So the Doomsday couple became involved in another prep forum called a vallow, another voice of warning. The forum was set to attract people with unconventional beliefs. So let's go back to Lorie and Charles. Lorie and Charles seem to be the most loving and perfect family there is. The kids were happy and the couple were in love. J.J., their adopted son, was a child with special needs. Charles' sister and her husband, Larry, were the first to adopt J.J. from Kay's grandson, I believe. It went a couple of years, and Larry and Kay was thinking of what would be the best for J.J. because of Larry's and Kay's ages. Larry would have been in his 70s by the time J.J. would go into school, and they thought he deserved a younger, more physical couple. So Charles and Lorie said they gladly take JJ, and Kay felt safe in that decision, even if it was a hard one. Tyler loved JJ a lot and was his guardian. She even said that she considered herself to be JJ's mom. And of course, JJ loved and felt safe with Tylee. In fall of 2018, Charles and Lorie's relationship started to take a different turn, and Lorie's behavior changed and her presence and involvement was somewhere else. Charles did express his concerns to his sister Kay. In late January 2019, Charles came home late from a business trip, and he noticed that he was locked outside his own home. He then called the cops that helped him get in, and there were no sign of his family there. Charles expressed his concerns for Lorie and said to the cops that his wife has lost her mind and that she's psychologically gone, and that the situation he is in with his marriage is killing him because he loves Lorie to death. The anniversary was rolling in next month of that day, and it would have been either their 13 years. I think 13 years, yeah. The cops did ask Charles if Lorie had made any statements to wanting to hurt the children or anything. Charles explained that Lorie had called his sister Kay and told her to get the children because she didn't care what would happen to them. Cops asked what would make her a danger to herself and others. Charles said that Lorie had threatened to kill him. Lorie thought she was a resurrected being, a god. She said, "I can murder you." She maybe still thinks this way, who knows.
She's lost her mind. I don't know how else to say it. We're LDS. She thinks she's a resurrected being and a god, and remember the 144,000. Jesus is coming next year. She took all the money out of her bank account today. My truck has gone from the airport. She went to the airport and got it. I just flew in from Dallas. Houston and Dallas. So
where's your truck?
I don't know.
Okay.
A friend of mine's truck picked me up. I went to the CSI to file a report, which is the community bridges or something. To file a report.
So you did the petition?
Yeah, they ordered a pickup.
Okay. What time did you do that?
Hour and a half ago.
Okay. So what makes her a danger to herself and to others?
She threatened me, murder me, kill me.
She threatened to murder you?
Yes. And she said,
how did she do that?
My bishop right there is in the car. He was on the phone with me today when she said, I will have you destroyed. That's what she said there.
Okay, that's not a threat to kill you.
Yesterday was a threat to kill me. The day before was a
What
threat to
what
murder
did she say yesterday?
She said, you're not Charles. I don't know who you are, what you did with Charles, but I can murder you now with my powers.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Says I'm gonna kill you too. Yesterday was I'm
So
gonna kill
she's speaking as a spiritual being.
you. She's not here. She's lost her reality.
Is this just all recent, or has it been going on?
It's been going on for about 4 or 5 years. It's gotten really, really bad lately. She goes to the temple every day and speaks with Moroni and Jesus Christ, and they tell her what to do. And now she came to her today, and last couple of days she says, I'm not Charles. You're not Charles. You're Nick Schneider.
Charles did file a petition emergency evaluation for her mental health. In January 31, 2019, Lorie and her daughter Tylee went to the local police station to share her own version of the situation. She claimed that it was actually Charles that was cheating and that she had told him about it, and said not to come home because everything like his clothes and car would be gone. Of course, people that knew Charles wouldn't believe these allegations. If you watch the documentary and look at her behavior, when she talks to the cops or get questioned for something serious, you will notice that Lorie giggles and smiles and makes jokes. She is acting absolutely wrong considering the situation she was in. The odd part here is she did go to a mental health facility to get evaluated, and she was cleared. After that, she disappeared for 2 months, leaving Charles heartbroken and with no other choice than to file for divorce. In February 2019, Charles petitioned the court to dissolve his marriage. He did mention that Lorie's beliefs had become too obsessive and it was concerning. She has stated things like she has been to multiple planets and have had multiple lives. She was becoming an immortal being, so nothing could kill her. She was chosen to help save the world and was talking a lot about end of time. If anyone would stay in the way of her mission, she would kill them. She did threaten Charles. If he did, she would kill him. Charles ended up giving his life insurance money to his sister Kay. Due to Lorie and Charles having separate custody over JJ, he knew Kay and her husband would end up with JJ, so he changed the beneficiary to Kay. When Lorie found out about this weeks after Charles' death, Lorie contacted Kay and stated 5 kids and no insurance money, and his sister gets it all. After that, there were no contact between Lorie, Kay, and Larry, and that is when the search for the children began. But how did Charles die? He was supposed to pick up JJ from Lorie's house and take him to school. And it was when Charles entered the home and saw Alex Cox that he got shot. And Alex claimed that it was self-defense. According to Alex, Lorie's brother, Charles was starting to get physical towards Lorie and him, so he shot him to stop him. Alex was the one that made the 911 call, and he couldn't seem less bothered.
911, where is your emergency?
Hi, I need an ambulance to... Yes.
Why do you need an ambulance?
I have a older male, a middle-aged male.
He is breathing?
Yes, he's breathing, but very, very highly breathing.
Okay, let me transfer you to Mesa, or the medics. Do not hang up.
Okay.
Is this due to a drug
Fire and
overdose
medical,
or
what is
anything?
the address of your emergency?
Go over with it.
Caller, are you on the line? Hello, is there
Hello?
anyone there?
Yes, this is. I'm here.
Okay, you're at for.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what is the emergency?
I have a older male here named Alex. He's he just passed out here on my bathroom.
Okay, is he awake right now?
I think he's passed out.
Okay, you think he's unconscious?
Yes.
Okay, is he breathing normally, like you can see his chest rising and falling? Hello?
I hope so.
I have the paramedics on the way, but I need you to try to help me with some information while they're driving there to help him. Okay?
Okay.
How old is he?
He seems to be in his 40s.
Okay. Do you know him?
No, it's my mother's boyfriend.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 25.
Lorie was standing and joking with the cops, didn't feel anything, while Tylee, poor girl, probably didn't know how to act or what to feel. Kay and Larry couldn't reach JJ, and many months passed by. They did, however, find out that Lorie and the kids have moved to Rexburg, Idaho in late August 2019. The couple requested that Rexburg Police Department will go to Lorie and check on the kids. However, when the cops showed up at Lorie's apartment, Lorie and the kids weren't there, but they found Alex Cox and Chad Daybell. Chad indicated that he didn't know Lorie that well, and Alex told the cops that JJ was with his mother in Louisiana. When Lorie found out that the cops were looking for her and the kids, it raised some flags and she came home again. When the cops spoke to Lorie, she had told them that JJ was with one of her friends in Arizona, Melanie Gibb. Tylee was in college on campus. When Melanie found out about this, she told the cops that she in fact didn't have the kids and that she hasn't seen them in months. She decided to talk to Lorie and ask why she had stated that. This is the phone call.
When I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, where is JJ? And he said, for my security, he didn't want me to know. So is there a reason I should be in danger to know where he is?
No, it's nobody. It's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
Okay.
So
if you knew, that puts you in a danger.
Well, just in a bad position.
Yeah, bad position.
Everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
Right, so you're just worried. Okay.
I'm just to keep him protected and
keep you protected.
And keep everybody else good.
I appreciate that. Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
I just needed to have somebody so I wouldn't have to tell them where he really was, because they were going to tell Kay where he is.
Oh, yeah. So do you think it's like your family, or, like your family, your dad, or, those
my
people?
Family, well, not my whole family, but as you know, most of my family is working against me and with her, basically.
Yeah. Is JJ safe?
He is safe and happy.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Are you afraid of anything? Like, are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? Like if I knew, like, how could that hurt me? I don't understand how that could hurt me if I knew where he was.
Well, I'm just not telling anybody so that nobody has to say where he is or get questioned to where he is, so I can keep him as safe as possible.
Yeah. Okay, I hope that he's okay. I hope you guys are okay. I did have a question that I asked Al at one point, your brother, if I wanted to know, like where he was, and he said I did not want to know, and that he could not be found. So what does that mean?
I don't know why he would say that, but it's the same story like I
Yeah.
I don't even want Al to know. I don't want anybody to know so that nobody has to be worried about it. I mean, nobody has to be questioned about it, so he can be safe.
When the cops decided to go and talk to Lorie again, she was gone. And there were no belongings. 2 weeks later, Kay and Larry learns from the cops that Alex had died from blood cloth. According to Alex's brother, he didn't have it and found it really hard to believe. Alex was a big source of information and now it was gone. In December 24, 2019, Rexburg police issued a press release and the story becomes national news. There were also $20,000 reward for anyone that knew where the kids were. January 30, 2020 was Lorie's deadline to present the children. The deadline had expired. Lorie had become extremely focused on the end of times and also believed that Jesus was coming back to earth. It was in 2019 she became obsessed with that thought. She would mention to her older son that she was seeing spirits walking in the house, and she also told him that she had a scream off with the devil. She also stated to believe in zombies and that her mission was to get rid of them. Lorie did mention to her friend Melanie Gibb that JJ was becoming a zombie, and somewhere in spring in 2019, before the death of Charles, Lorie called Tylee a zombie. Tylee was last seen on September 8, 2019 at Yellowstone National Park with her brother JJ, her mother Lorie, and her uncle Alex Cox. On September 17, 2019, a doorbell video captured JJ playing with a friend, the last known footage of him. On September 22, Melanie Gibbs and her boyfriend were staying at Lorie's home. Around 10:30 p.m., Melanie's boyfriend saw Alex Cox take JJ, who was sleeping, upstairs to his room. That was JJ's last confirmed sighting. The next morning, JJ was absent. Lorie told Melanie and her boyfriend that JJ had been misbehaving, so his uncle Alex picked him up. Lorie also informed Rexburg Elementary School that she would now be homeschooling JJ. This was September 24, 2019. On September 23, JJ had an excused absence from school. In the months that her kids were missing, Lorie kept collecting the Social Security survivor benefits that both received after the death of their respective father. The FBI uncovered text messages in which Lorie and Chad discussed the children's possession, they being zombies, and mentioned a perfectly orchestrated plan to take the children. A text between Lorie and Alex Cox mentioned working on CS, referring to zombies, or rather ZS. You guys get it? ZS, Z in zombies and S in multiples. Yeah, whatever, you get it. Now, what happened to Tammy Shad Daybell's wife? October 2019, as Tammy was in her driveway getting stuff out of the back seat, a guy wearing a ski mask was suddenly standing by the back of her car with a paintball gun. She posted this on Facebook and claimed that the paintball gun might have or may not have been loaded. She screamed after Chad and ran into the house. October 19, 2019. 10 days later, after that incident, Tammy passes away in her sleep, according to Chad. And weeks after the sudden death of his wife, he marries Lorie. December 11, 2019, Tammy's body was viewed for autopsy. Tammy died of suffocation. The FBI analyzes the cellular data from those closest to the children around the time of their disappearance. Alex Cox. On September 23, 2019, the day of JJ's disappearance, they found out that he was on Shad's property. He was on Shad's property September 6, 2019 for approximately 11 minutes. September 9, 2019, the day after Tylee's scene in Yellowstone, like 2.5 hours, and September 25, 2019 for 17 minutes. Rexburg's police officer shows up at Chad Daybell's property June 9, 2020. FBI's and cops are all in Chad's backyard. From helicopter footage, you could see that they were digging next to a fire pit. Kay and Larry gets the call they have been dreading. They had found 2 bodies, and Larry without any doubts knew it was the kids. When cops were searching Chad's backyard, Chad received a call from jail, and it was Lorie. And this is actually the only time she sounded concerning. She sounded sad for someone. She didn't laugh or make any jokes. As the cop did their discovery, Chad tried to drive off, but cops got a hold of him immediately. He got taken into custody. It was a family friend that identified the bodies for Larry and Kay, by the way. 2 months after Tylee and JJ were murdered, Chad and Lorie were married in Hawaii on November 5, 2019. Also 2 weeks after the death of Tammy. When everyone found out about this, it was, of course, shocking. The Hawaii authorities got involved. In Lorie's and Chad's rental car, they had found JJ's iPad, Tylee's ATM card, and both of their birth certificates. Several months before Tammy's death, investigators found in Lorie's internet history that she had ordered a pair of wedding rings in August 2019. When everyone found out about this, it was of course a shock. She got charged because she failed to present the kids at giving date, and she was arrested in Hawaii. Lorie denied her charges, and the judge gives her a $5 million bond. She was also getting extorted back with an agent. Chad hasn't been charged with anything at this point. But after they found the bodies in his backyard, he got charged with concealment, destruction, and alteration of evidence, 2 counts. In March 5, 2020, Lorie arrives in Rexburg by an agent. 6 months after the kids' disappearance, Lorie appeared in court. Chad was, of course, there supporting his wife, and his wife was unbothered by the whole situation. She got charged with 2 counts of desertion of a child, and for some reason, her bond lowered from $5 million to $1 million. 2 months after the discoveries of the bodies, Chad Daybell's hearing began. 2 counts of concealment, destruction, and alteration of human remains. 2 counts of conspiring to do so. And at this point, neither Chad or Lorie has been charged with murder, and Lorie maintained her innocence. And there was enough evidence to proceed to trial and Chad charges. He, of course, pleaded not guilty. The pre-trial of Lorie started 3 years after her arrest. Chad and Lorie would be tried separately. Lorie's trial finally began in April 3, 2023. Lorie was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and grand theft in connection with the death of her 2 children. The 2 couples were also charged with the murder of Chad's ex-wife, Tammy. May 12, 2023, Lorie was found guilty of all the charges against her. On July 31, 2023, she was sentenced to life with no possibility of parole. On May 30, 2024, Chad was found guilty of all his charges against him. On June 1, 2004, he was sentenced to death. Lorie's trial over Charles' death began on March 31 with a jury selection. On April 22, 2025, Lorie was convicted of conspiring to murder Charles. Also, you may or may not know that the goddess represented herself, because who can do it better than Lorie, the goddess herself? The jurors said that she didn't really do herself any favor by doing so. According to one of the jurors, Lorie was often just smiling and laughing and didn't seem to take anything seriously. I haven't watched the whole trial, but according to source, she didn't call any witnesses or put any evidence in her defense. But she stated in her opening and closing statement that Charles' death wasn't a crime. In her opening statement that contained a lot of the evidence will show, she shared her side of the story of what happened the day Charles died. Before she even came up to that point, she wanted the jury to know the bad relationship Charles had with Lorie's daughter Tylee, that they didn't get along and argued frequently. She was building up to her side of her story of the day Charles died. According to Lorie, Charles was heading to Lorie's home to pick up JJ Thursday morning on July 11, 2019 to drop him off school. Charles was texting Adam Cox before entering Lorie's home, so Charles knew that Alex Cox was at Lorie's thanks to Adam Cox. After Lorie and Charles had put JJ into the rental car, Charles went back into Lorie's house to receive his phone. JJ was still in the front seat of the car. She stated that the evidence would show that Charles started to scream at Lorie after she refused to give him his phone. And the scream woke up Tylee and Alex that were sleeping. Her daughter came out of her room with a bath to protect Lorie, and this is where she starts crying for the first time ever. Even if it was not real, she tried at least. I'm going to let the eternal being tell y'all the rest of the story.
The evidence will show that Tylee and I got into the rental car with JJ and drove away. The evidence will show you that I drove the children away from the residence towards JJ's school. Can I grab a tissue?
Yes.
The evidence will show that I drove the children through the Burger King drive-thru that Charles had promised JJ. The evidence will show that we continued to drive towards JJ's school and that the gate was not yet open at JJ's school. So we drove a block west of the school to a Walgreens where I ran in to purchase flip-flops for Tylee and myself so that we could walk JJ into school on the hot pavement.
Okay, so she drove the kids through the Burger King drive-in that Charles had promised JJ, and she continued to drive towards JJ's school, but the gate was not yet opened. So she drove a block west from the school to a mall, I think, where she bought flip-flops for all the three so they could walk JJ into school on the hot pavement. So you're telling me, or Lorie is telling us, that Charles forgot to put shoes on JJ. Why did she add this to the story? It sounds even more weird. Was it in the hope to show the jury what a great mom she was? And why did she refuse to give Charles his phone? So Lorie is saying it could have been all avoided if she just gave him the phone. So in Lorie's story, Lorie is still the problem. There was a lot of narcissistic crap in her statement that she wasn't the problem, but everyone else was. Charles' sister Kay took the stand and did an awesome job. I have so much respect for this woman, and my heart broke when I heard that Lorie took it upon herself. Listen, she took the decision to have Charles cremated, and he was mailed through FedEx over to Charles' sister's office with just some of his belongings and other crap. It seems that Lorie decided also what of Charles' possessions she was going to send over. So, in short, she kills Charles, cremated him, FedExed him to his sister's work office. Kay and her family made an arrangement for Charles' memorial. When Kay was also going to go and receive Charles' belongings and Lorie gave permission, nothing was there, just furnitures. Her closing argument was as weak as her opening. In the opening statement, she spoke about a lot of evidence that would be shown, and in her closing, she speaks about evidence that wasn't shown. In her world, she was absolutely innocent. There were no evidence that were shown to her advantage, and she was found guilty. Now she's requesting a new trial, her reasoning being 1. Your misconduct. April 28, 2025. Juror 15 made a statement indicating he had knowledge of this defendant's prior conviction. Is it so hard to think before you talk, man? Just be quiet, like really. Reason number 2. Preclusion of Tylee Ryan and Alex Cox's statements and impermissible expert testimony by Detective Daniel Coons. Lorie couldn't or wasn't allowed to present to the jury any of Tylee Ryan's or Alex Cox's statements, as they are considered hearsay. But according to Lorie, it's not. Reason number 3. Discovery violation. On April 14, 2025, during trial, Ms. Trina Kay produced a hard drive containing the gray key information for Charles Vallow's cell phone. The contents of that drive are exculpatory evidence. Defense has been requesting this evidence so that she could provide it to her independent expert for his review. This discovery disclosure occurred in the middle of the trial. Now, reason number 4. Prosecutorial misconduct. On April 8, 2025, the state elicited irrelevant, prejudicial, and improper character evidence when asked Chandler Fire Captain Keller if he overheard any conversations with this defendant. Excuse that I can't. I mean, English is for me very hard. Just in general, it's just some words I can't get it fluently. I just hope you guys get what I mean. It's just hard for me to pronounce some words that I feel are pretty advanced. Then we have court's lack of impartiality. The court precluded this defendant from representing a defense by striking her witnesses, including but not limited to Nate Eaton and Brandon Burdock, before they were even called to the stand. Specifically, before testimony began, the court required this defendant to establish on the record the relevancy her witnesses would present. In Lorie's pretrial hearing for for the awaited trial of Brandon, Lorie's niece's ex-husband, she went as far as to call her judge Bereski bias and ask him to recuse himself.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I have to ask that you would recuse yourself from the obvious personal bias that you have against me and send us to master calendar for this scheduling of a trial.
And what personal bias is that?
A lot, obviously, the personal bias that you're showing right now and that you've shown on the FTR several times during the trial.
Okay, well, I don't have any personal bias, all right? I've over-accommodated you on when you have to disclose things. In fact, your expert should be summarily precluded today, and I haven't done that, all right? So
You denied every single one of my motions since for a year and a half that I've been here. Every single one of my motions has been denied. And have any of those motions not had merit? You've denied every single motion.
I think I was here this morning about 15 minutes ago when I granted your motion to meet with your attorneys over the lunch hour. I have granted other motions of yours, okay?
That's the first motion that you've ever granted.
Well,
in my behalf.
file motions that have a legal basis and I might grant them.
So you're saying none of my motions have had merit?
Not many, no.
But before she even got to this point, she told the judge her concerns of having her name on the jury questionnaire. She had a problem with the case being named after her because that would just lead to another alleged jury misconduct, like in the trials of Charles Vallow. And then she got the best question from the judge. How do we screen for if people have heard about you if we don't include your name? And that was very hard for her to answer because the woman is insane. There was a hearing, of course, before Charles' trial, but I will just put it in the description down below. Then we have an interview with Lorie that I watched. This was an interview made before the Charles trials. She was interviewed by True Crime Arizona or Arizona Family. The first question was, why did you decide to represent yourself in this trial? The first thing Lorie said was, there's lots of reasons. She honestly did not give a straightforward answer. Talking about her first trial, how she'd been moved a lot from prison to prison, and that she wants a speedy trial, and that there were women that had been awaiting their trial for 5, 6, 7 years, and that the facility she's in, how it is the worst, and that the attorneys and prosecutors had 5 years to put it together. So I guess her answer to that question was, I didn't trust the attorneys to put everything together fast enough, and I thought I could do the job better. Erase that thought. I know I can do it better and faster, I guess. And she really didn't like the facility she was in during this interview. Following question was, what were you expecting the condition in this jail to be? Lorie said, the people in this jail hasn't been convicted of anything and is as innocent as I am. Every day, the same thing, eating slop, not going out in the sun, no proper medical care. This interview shows how delusional Lorie is, and it scares me. It scares me that she thinks she has the right to be comfortable after killing and living on her family's money. And she wants to be some kind of representation for this innocent woman in jail, that it's important to stand for your rights. She believes or thinks also that her purpose for being in that specific facility is to uplift and strengthening these women waiting for the trial or conviction. Then she got a really hard question. That was brilliant, but Lorie couldn't answer. She also got asked, do you still believe in zombies? Lori had her lawyer in the room with her, so whatever she said after the question, we can't hear because they had muted that part. I think the woman that interviewed Lori here did a good job. Of course, Lori couldn't answer everything because of the trial that was upcoming. But Lori says she's innocent. She's a loving person. She loves her children. Her purpose in jail is to be a role model and lift up other women in her situation. And she is prepared and has accepted that she might spend her life in jail. And if so, it is God's will. Then we have the interview after her trial and her reaction of the guilty verdict. She's saying in the interview that she's not shocked. She's shocked, but at the same time not shocked at the guilty verdict, and goes on to explain that this is how the jurisdictional system works, that they have an MO. Lori said that she wasn't allowed by the judge to take some witnesses and that she herself didn't go to the stand because of how the prosecution would turn that against her. I also find it funny that she said that it wasn't her job to make the jury believe in her. She just wanted the story to get out right for herself. Also, when asked about Tylee, that people wondered where her kids were and why they weren't present, the interviewer asked if Lori thought that they should have known. Lori asked, but did they really not know? She was thinking more about the jury misconduct and herself than showing any kinds of emotional towards her daughter. I found out through these interviews that, according to Lori, Tylee killed herself. Okay, in that case, why did Tylee kill herself? And that the whole situation with her family tragedy was a domino effect that she wasn't prepared for. But when Lori died and went to heaven and came back, she got taught to take things calmly, not react in a certain way, show love, and spread love. So like I mentioned earlier, there is an upcoming trial, and it's about conspiracy murder source Brandon Bordox, Lori's niece's ex-husband. And the trial is set according to source June the 2nd. So first and foremost, I'm a very honest person. With that said, I do these videos for learning purposes and because it's fun for me to upload. In the future, I would like to discuss a case with other channels live, but I don't feel comfortable doing so yet. But mostly these videos are for me. I do have a crime buddy that I see as my teacher because she's been looking and reading crime for many years, and she's really good at analyzing. So when I have questions, I often go to her to discuss. When you start reading about cases, it can get easy to fall into other people's view, and that is bad. When I saw Lori, I thought immediately, like anyone else, that she is a psychopath with zero feelings and that she is unintelligent. I'm of course not surprised over the fact that she could get up and represent herself. I mean, she sees herself as very high. But if I am to be honest, I've seen lawyers that has sadly been worse than Lori, in my opinion, or equally experienced. But the difference here is they have been lawyers for years and she hasn't. So she is not as dumb as everybody thinks, and that is what I mean. It's easy to get lost in others' opinion. Lori is someone that has built her own narrative, and everything that stands outside of her narrative does not exist. And she will not budge from this. Therefore, when you take up the family, she says it was a family tragedy and that's it. And many different people does this for different reasons. People that doesn't kill. There are people that just build their own narrative, and everything that is outside of it, they don't accept. Lorie has built up her own narrative and she is the main character. Also, she is a master manipulator. I don't believe it is easy for her to get people. I do believe it is easy for her to get people around her fingers. And for example, I believe she had her brothers, Alex Hawks, around her finger so he could carry out her crimes for her. Like my crime buddy said, she would fit in a pyramid scheme. She's a scammer, and all of this doesn't make her stupid or psychopath. For me, a psychopath is Ted Bundy, and I do not, of course, Lorie is not in the line of Ted Bundy's actions, but I don't believe her psyche is in the lines of Ted Bundy either. Now, I'm not comparing her specifically to Ted Bundy. No, I mean the psychopath in the line of Ted Bundy. He was just an example because we all know that people like Ted Bundy are psychopaths. I don't see her in that category with those people in that line of their psyche. It is the fantasy that makes her dangerous. If she wants something, she'll get it. It's about her and no one else. But if you're good for whatever she needs, that's fine. I truly wonder how long Shad would have lasted. She knows she has nothing to lose and that she is spending her life in prison. She knows this. So, in total, she's a master manipulator. She needs to be in the center, loves excitement and adventure. She needs to be in control, gets rid of people that stands in her way, because if she wants something, she's gonna have it. If it doesn't fit the story, it doesn't exist. And that is that, guys. Like I said, or what I've stated earlier, maybe in another video, things like this needs to be easy for me to do. It can't be too difficult because then I might just not do it. It has to be not too advanced and I need to be comfortable doing it, because this is not you must do it. No, this is for learning purposes. This is for me. Of course, I wish to have a crime community or a gaming community, but to get there, I want to be just myself. And my English isn't the best, but I'm guessing you guys understand what I mean most of the time. So I'm waiting for her trial. And we'll see what happens, because there's a lot of information in this case that I haven't brought up, and I need to get started with the other case I wanted to do. And I already have another case, an old one that is done, so we'll see what happens further up. But yes, she's very interesting, honestly, how delusional and stuck in her fantasy she is, definitely. But yeah, guys, if you do enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe today for more, and take care. Bye bye.
Tell us who you are. What makes you tick?
Being a good mom is very important to me, and a good wife, and a good worker, and being all those things together is not easy. So I'm basically a ticking time bomb.